We're going to cover several objectives. We're going to define cybersecurity, which has probably been defined already today at least once. I'm going to use something a little bit different. I'm going to use a foreigner's approach to cybersecurity. Defining situational awareness, combining both, then I'm going to go scenario-based. The crede uno speaks Latin. Who's the Latin majors in here? Who knows what the crede uno means? Trust no one. Pretty much when you're on the internet, trust no one. No, I can't trust him. First guy I'm not going to trust is the guy that says trust me. And then we'll go into a hack scenario.
He's good. I vouch.
You vouch for him? Oh.
I vouch for him.
All right, perfect. Then I'm in.
Triple trust. That's right.
Or the country, or Arkansas. Cybersecurity is the body of technologies, processes, and practices designed to protect networks, computers, programs, and data from attack, damage, or unauthorized access. In the computing context, the term security implies cybersecurity. According to a December 2010 analysis of U.S. spending plans, the government, it's 2010, they plan on spending $13 billion annually over the next 5 years, so 13 divided by 5. That's what their plan was. I've got sexy stuff. We're going to watch a quick video on how the probably don't trust it.
It's like the old time.
Bear with me. Let's do this. There you go. Really?
Windows. Have media player installed.
Good suggestion. Yep. Sorry, guys.
Would you be comfortable living in a house that someone else had the key to? What if an underground tunnel led into it from a public park, where its windows could never quite close all the way? Would you trust it with your safety and your privacy? The internet is that house. This is not to say never go into the house, but rather you should know the hazards before you store all of your valuables there, and do what you can to protect them. So why is it insecure, and why can't we just fortify it until it's safe? Well, first of all, the internet was not originally built to be what it is today. It's like someone decided to expand a shoebox into a skyscraper. The internet originally developed when computers were huge and so expensive to own that only universities, big businesses, and a few governments had them. The point, originally, was to let these massive supercomputers talk to each other. And as soon as two computers could send information back and forth, we had a network. The network gradually grew until personal computers emerged in the 1980s, and then it exploded. Soon, people were not just talking to each other, but also exchanging money, playing games, reading news, shopping, and doing everything we associate with the internet today. Other devices started talking to the network too. Phones, and cars, and refrigerators, and elevators, and power plants, and much, much more. But the ease of all those devices talking to each other came at a price: security. One computer could send another instructions to delete everything on it or take it over. We call these viruses and malware. Or one person could steal another's identity by guessing, cracking, or extracting a password. Vulnerabilities such as these will never completely go away because they're built into the internet's very architecture. Criminals use them to steal billions of dollars, governments use them for surveillance, and hacktivists use them to further their political goals. Between 2004 and 2013, over 1 billion records of personal information were stolen or leaked through data breaches of major organizations. As a thought experiment, let's imagine what a perfectly secure internet might look like. Users would not be allowed to download or install anything onto their computers. All internet traffic would be monitored and regulated by bots and humans, massively limiting the number of websites you could visit. In order to log onto a website, you'd have to type in a 100-character password, submit a genetic sample, and whistle a tune. The servers that hold data would be kept in heavily armed fortresses on the moon. And even with all these safeguards in place, some clever hacker would almost certainly still find a way in. The good news is, even with our flawed internet, there are simple things you can do to protect yourself, and there are a lot of people committed to making the internet more secure. In Nova's cybersecurity lab, you'll play as one of these people, protecting a company that's the target of increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks. You must continuously strengthen your defenses to thwart these attackers. You'll do this by completing challenges that will give you basic coding abilities, help you spot scams designed to trick you into giving up your secrets, and
Bottom line, the internet was not designed to be what it is today. Social media, companies, universities, they've all added into the mix of creating it, turning what it is now. Compare that to that 13 billion over 5 years to just the 2015 budget. 38.2 billion is going to be invested. One of the first times the budget is sure to increase because the tax will increase. Tax is going to be increased by competing industries, organizations, hacktivists, and foreign countries. Foreign countries are especially dangerous because they have the resources not only to fund long-term attacks, but to recruit and commit individuals who are capable of developing the codes needed for these sustained attacks. Just like Ira spoke about before, Korea and Russia have the resources to commit to individuals. Right now, China is educating kids, recruiting kids as young as 4 years old, and teaching them how to hack and create code. So imagine a kid that starts at 4. By the time he's 10, what kind of codes can he create? All of them. Or new ones. 15. What if he's 15 years old? It just all keeps growing. Okay. Situational awareness in the security world is the ability to identify, process, and comprehend the critical elements of information about what is happening to the team with regards to the mission. More simply, it's knowing what's going on around here. And that's defined by the U.S. Coast Guard. Cyber situational awareness is the immediate knowledge of friendly, adversary, and other relevant information regarding activities in and through cyberspace and the EMS, specifically EMS. You guys know what happened last year, May of last year. Somebody hacked into the EMS, the emergency management system, and sent a code out from Atlanta to New York asking people to call a specific number. The threat was that it started off in Atlanta, kept increasing north. What if they had sent that code out to have somebody go to a specific location and then engage at that location? That's why that threat became so dangerous and prevalent for the FBI. Something as simple as a thumb drive. Some kid picks up a thumb drive from school or strategically placed thumb drive somewhere within a classroom. They're going to go home, plug it into their computer, and there's a virus on it. The virus has now infected that computer. Well, their dad, member of the family, uses that computer to interface with their business. Now that business is hacked or infected with whatever virus was on it. Some of the top 10 hacks, 2015, this is just this year. A group of hackers called themselves HALT, published the Xbox One. SDK virus. Access to information allows experts at home to develop their own homebrew Xbox apps to run on their gaming consoles. It's not a huge threat to anyone outside of the gaming community. On the second anniversary of Oren Schwartz's death, an internet hacktivist and talented computer developer who helped found Reddit, Infogami, and the organization Creative Commons. The hacker defaced 15 sites of Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The U.S. military command was officials who oversee operations in the Middle East are hacked via Twitter. American Airlines Group gets hacked on January 2012. January 17, hackers break into payivy.com, a virtual marketplace online. February 1st, several banks and financial institutions report information being stolen. Tens of millions of Anthem Incorporated are hacked, have their identity stolen, so on and so on. This happens every single day. It's a constant barrage of hack attacks. The Creative Unum, trust no one, except for those guys because they vote for each other. They're good. Internet radicalization. ISIS is constantly looking for ways to recruit individuals. They do it at universities. They do it at on social websites. They do it with individuals who aren't getting the satisfaction or the recognition from their peers. So they are now looking to get famous. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police defines radicalization as the process by which individuals are introduced to an overtly ideological message and belief system that encourages movement from moderate, mainstream beliefs towards extreme views. While radical thinking is by no means problematic in itself, it becomes a threat to national security when citizens or residents support or engage in violence or direct action as a means of promoting political, ideological, or religious extremism. Sometimes referred to as homegrown terrorism, this process of radicalization is more correctly referred to as domestic radicalization leading to terrorist violence. There's going to be a bunch of handouts here for resources, and the RAND report that came out in 2013 is a great read on radicalizations of individuals through the internet. One of the biggest problems the FBI faces right now is a group called the Sovereign Citizens. How many people have heard of the Sovereign Citizens? Few people. There's a really interesting video on the internet, just how pull up Sovereign Citizen shoots a cop in the face. I didn't know what the crowd was going to be, so I didn't add it in. But a routine traffic stop, they pull over a sovereign citizen, or pull over an individual with his son, pull him out of the vehicle, an officer comes in as backup, and as they pull the individual, the driver, off to the side, the 14-year-old kid pulls out an AK-47 and shoots a cop in the face 7 times. He then proceeds to shoot What's that?
Nothing going.
He then proceeds to shoot the other officer as he's running into the ditch. He kills them both. It ends up in a shootout at a Walmart. We're talking a little bit about Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda literally means the base. Al-Qaeda in the Arabic Peninsula is actively recruiting college students. Kids drop out of school, they're bored. They take these classes, they think it's not for them. Well, not only do they have a radicalized ideology right now, but they also owe $30,000 in debt. Well, guess what? They will pay that off for you. They'll pay that off for you, but you come work for them. They own you after that. And there have been several. We're hearing on the news all the time. Americans found in Iraq. Americans found in Afghanistan. Individuals that are radicalized. The Boston bomber, the axe attacks on the officers in the subway system in New York, the hatchet attack in Louis Armstrong Airport, the individual who was 16 years old who was bound and determined to kill his family and then go into school. All those individuals had something in common. They had a copy or access to the Mujahid Handbook. ISIS publishes an online publication called Inspire Magazine. Inspire Magazine started in 2010. They took the culmination of what they put into those magazines in Inspire and put it into a handbook, the Mujahid Handbook. In the Mujahid Handbook, it specifically speaks about crock-pot bombs. So that's how the guys in the Boston bombers learned how to create those crock-pot bombs. They also talk about a thing called the human lawnmower. It tells people to weld blades onto their pickup truck and go to fairs and start driving back and forth down the main strip to see how many they can take out, and then to make sure they have enough ammunition to step out, because when the first responders come, because eventually the bodies are going to get stuck underneath your truck, the first responders come to start shooting at the first responders. This is on the internet. It's the Mujahid Handbook. I don't suggest you download it. For those of you in the security field, how many of you have heard of the Mujahid Handbook? If you don't download it, get a copy from your local fusion center or from your local police department. All right? It's a good thing to have on hand. In that book, it specifically talks about hack attacks or hatchet attacks or individual attacks towards law enforcement, specifically law enforcement. The dark web. How many people know about the dark web? There you go. How many people have ever accessed to it? What'd you guys buy? I thought you said I could trust you.
We can't trust you.
No, that's good. Don't trust me.
This is like a perfect.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
With the hood.
That is perfect. We'll be knocking on your door.
Trustworthy one.
We'll be knocking on your door in a couple weeks. That's anonymous right there, boys, right? Ladies and gentlemen, anonymous.
Don't put us up for that.
You guys are better?
Those amateurs.
Yeah. All right, so dark web. In 2012, the FBI got into designed their own website on the dark web where you could actually go in and buy information. Now they were trading information and using that information to gather more information on individuals that were coming into the web. By the time they were done, they had to finally shut it down because their codes kept getting hacked consistently. Aggressive hack attacks. When Ira was talking about the equation group, they had their version of the equation group that built this whole thing up. And eventually that's how they tracked down an individual that started the Anonymous. And all he was doing was, he had a couple computers. He was a kid living in Brooklyn, and on the Lower West Side, and all he was doing was trading information back and forth. Somebody had information here, he just traded. But you had to have an access certain code. The only way to access the dark web is if you know somebody who gives you a code to get into the dark web, or you have to have specific programs designed to get into the web. It takes time. It's not something that you're going to do overnight. You guys tell me, you guys can't like overnight pretty much just go into a dark web. Unless you know people.
Deep.
What's that?
Depends on how deep you want to go. The initial sites, there's tons of them
That you can just get on?
You just need the Tor Onion browser.
Right.
Right on it.
Right.
So that's, minutes of work. But
They use Tor servers.
knowing a lot of the stuff, other stuff, you need research and you need to know where to go and what forums and what groups give you access.
Which goes back to what Ira was talking about, careful who you engage with.
Yep.
Because some of those people on the web are absolutely ruthless.
But your trust us.
We can trust you guys.
That's the whole point of it, it's unindexed, so you can't search for things, you have to know specifically what they are.
Exactly. And I understand that, but there's some people there that are just absolutely, there are people that just because you know how to access those locations, or you have accidentally had, that will track you down and do bad things to you. Not to you, to you. What's that?
I don't have that myself.
Well, to you though.
His dog. I don't have a dog.
Okay, your cat?
No, beer guana.
There you go. Any one of those? Everybody's pretty much covered phishing. Phishing is just, it's a rudimentary way to gather information through emails, internet, public, social websites, and now we get social networking. What you put out there, and people will continue to do whatever they want to do, but social networking is one of the most hacked websites out, any one of the social networks, LinkedIn, Facebook, any one of them, Tag, I don't even know if that's still around. But if you're putting it out there, if you're accessing those websites, pretty much opening up the door to get hacked, depending on what information you click on. There are people that's all they do. They have sustained patience. Oh, here's another video.
Yeah.
I can pull it up. How many people have seen the Jeep get hacked? Okay. Give me a second. We're not going to go through this whole video. I just want to go through.
Look in all the dictionaries. There is no word for what we do. It's not.
It's not fun to have your 2-ton SUV's brakes hacked just as you're parking in front of a ditch.
Okay, hold on tight. Hold on.
That's what I've learned from Charlie Miller and Chris Balasek, a pair of hackers who have spent the last year developing a piece of software that can wirelessly sabotage this 2014 Jeep Cherokee. It hasn't been altered in any way. There are no devices attached to it. But like many thousands of Jeeps around the world, it can be remotely hacked over the internet through a cellular connection to its entertainment system that would allow someone to take over its steering, its transmission, and even its brakes. To demonstrate that, I'm going to act as today's crash test dummy and drive it on the highway here in St. Louis, while Charlie and Chris hijacked its digital systems from Charlie's house miles away. They wouldn't tell me what they had planned, but they assured me that it wouldn't be anything life-threatening.
Remember, Andy, no matter what happens,
Don't panic.
It's not the first time I've driven a car while it's being attacked by these two hackers. But in 2013, they were in the back seat, and their laptops were wired into the vehicle through a port in its dashboard. Now they're sending the same sort of attacks remotely, and I have no idea what they might do.
He's going as fast as I've seen him, so.
So first we're gonna turn the fan on him.
Yeah, let's turn the fan on, see if he even notices.
Alright, something just turned on all the fans and AC and stuff. I didn't do that. The trick started small. Oh my god! There's a picture of Charlie and Chris in tracksuits that just appeared on the dashboard. But as I drove down the interstate, things started getting unpleasant and very loud.
This is such a fun video. Steve, I'll give it up to Jordan.
The air conditioning is blasting, the music is blasting, and I can't see anything because of the windshield wiper fluid.
Okay, do it. Do it. Kill the engine.
So we're killing the engine right now.
It says park, it says actually can't accelerate. I stomped on the gas, but the Jeep slowed to a crawl. It says 44 miles an hour, but I'm not going that fast. I turned on my hazard lights, but I was still stuck in the right lane with no shoulder to escape onto. Guys, I'm stuck on the highway.
Oh, I think he's panicking. He's not even hear us on that radio. It's so loud.
Guys, I need the accelerator to work again.
You guys get the gist of it.
It won't work!
You guys get the gist of it. All right, so when they hacked that car, they used the same technology that the U.S. used in Iran. Basically the same kind of codes to hyper-accelerate the centrifuges at the nuke plant and create some kind of air bubble system. They accessed a 2,000-pound vehicle, and this technology has been around probably within the past 3 to 5 years. Korea has developed that same kind of technology to remotely access control systems in production facilities. So let's say you've got a facility that creates anhydrous ammonia. You have an individual who has those codes. They might have bought it on the dark web, who knows? So they hacked, so that individual from a remote location accesses the anhydrous ammonia process, thereby setting up a cloud or an event which would include evacuation and or death, depending on the amount of the release. The only way to stop anhydrous ammonia, anybody know? Mix it with water. That's it. Air is a factor. You could take out a good portion of Davenport before anything is actually done, if we had an anhydrous ammonia facility here. Same thing with a propane manufacturing facility. LNG. LNG is awesome. Love LNG. These guys, there's several facilities here in the United States who have been hacked, broken into, and they still don't do anything about it. There's several corporations here in the United States that have been hacked, their processes hacked into, same as this, and still have not done anything about it. Why? Budgetary concerns, budgetary issues. They don't see the value in investing in a bunch of technology that would bring them to a safer place. The last few slides is be aware that anytime you access the internet, you're opening yourself up to an intrusion. Be cognizant of your environment. Make sure that there's not someone over your shoulder reviewing every single thing that you do while you're sitting down having a cup of coffee at at Starbucks. People have done that. They just sit behind you. They can hack your system. From well, these guys are probably doing it right now.
I'm in a news video about doing that.
You what?
I did a thing for Fox News Chicago about 6 years at a Starbucks doing that same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
That was you doing it?
Yep. Me, my old boss, and my coworker.
That's awesome. See,
That's awesome.
and that was what, six years ago?
About 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect example right there. What was the scenario you used? You just sat there and just looked over while somebody was buying something? Or?
No, we used a, what did we do? We set up a fake access point that would impersonate the Starbucks access point.
Right.
And then compromise systems as they connected and just basically inject like an ENC session onto the system so
Wow.
we could see exactly what they were seeing without sitting behind them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how far away were you when you were doing it?
We were in the corner and we had full access to all the laptops. That
Wow.
so.
There you go, right there. Activist.
Just security researcher.
That's awesome. No, that is absolutely awesome. Be vigilant. Monitor your online accounts frequently. Take advantage of security opportunities offered by your account managers, like secondary verification or multiple tier verification. Like I already talked about, accessing your getting a text message or an email to your to a separate email, a verification code. Use that all the time. Make sure you monitor your accounts. Control yourselves. Stop putting up selfies. Stop putting up every single thing you do, regardless of whether or not you think you're not in a pattern. You are. There's some sort of pattern, algorithm that somebody will figure out that you are doing by posting your pictures at specific times, at specific locations. You're setting yourself up for failure. Great. If you want to share the news, you know what? Write a memo. Create a diary. Back in when I was young, back in the old days, we had diaries. We didn't post everything on Facebook. Journals. Thank you very much. Journals were more of the speckled black for me, but yes, absolutely. Stop posting. Stop posting every single waking moment. Stay informed. Keep coming. Keep coming to things like this. Keep coming to every single opportunity that you have to go to a cyber conference, or every single opportunity you have to go to a security conference that you have access to, every single opportunity that you have to go to just a general forum, meetings, LEPCs. How many people here work with government? LEPCs? Law enforcement, the local emergency planning committee. Thank you. Local emergency planning committee. If you work with an industry or at an industry, I'll give you about 10.